Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise to Allah and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. I'd like to welcome you to these episodes of interpretation of some of the verses of the Holy Quran. Today we are going to listen to some of the verses related to fasting and the month of Ramadan. So let us listen to these verses before we speak about these verses.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
All praise to Allah and peace and blessing be upon His Messenger. Welcome again after listening to these verses from the Holy Quran. Let us come and take these verses to contemplate and know the meanings in these verses. First, Allah is calling the believers, "O you who believe." So when Allah is calling the believers, it means this act which Allah is commanding to do, it is one of the basic things for our belief. So what is it? "O you who believe, fasting have been enjoined upon you as it was enjoined upon those before you." So fasting, it is not something unique for Muslims. It was even before in all the religions before the Islam, but it could be something different. But the fasting in its essence, it is not something new. And by saying that, it is encouraging the Muslims to fast, and it makes it also easy to know that what you are doing, others before you were doing. So it is not something new totally. So, "O you who believe," it is enjoined to you the fasting as it was enjoined to upon those before you, so that you may be God-fearing. This is the main objective of fasting, God-fearing, attaining piety, لعلكم تتقون, so that you become a pious, God-fearing. And how this fasting will lead to God-fearing? If we look into the fasting, there is nothing you do. It is abstaining from drinking, eating, from the sexual intercourse. All these you don't do it. And who will you know that your intention is to fast? It is only God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because some people, they might appear that they are fasting, but in reality they are not fasting. In front of the other people, they can appear that they are not eating, but when they are hiding, they can eat. So the one who is fasting, he knows that wherever he goes, Allah will see him and knows about him. So first, when you have this feeling that Allah is monitoring you, this makes you always thinking of Allah. When you do anything, is this right or wrong? Is this Allah made it lawful or unlawful? So in fasting, you are always thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also regarding fasting, it teaches you how to become patient, because we are all used to eat and drink and have that lawful sexual intercourse. But if you are asked to stop from that for certain number of hours, now this is not in accordance with your desires. So, but in spite of that, since this is the command of Allah, you obey, because you know definitely whatever Allah commanded us, even if we suffer through following and complying with the commands of Allah, this is for our benefit in this life and in the hereafter. Because Allah does not want to torture us. He is the most merciful and He loves us. Whatever is given to us as a command, it is for our benefit. Now, if the student goes to the school and he is given these studies and he must go through the exams, and he doesn't like this, but is it good for him or not? Of course, it is good for him to gain the knowledge, to be qualified, to live then in this life and to get a job and so on. So this life, it is not something that we look for leisures only. We can have some lawful leisures, but actually we must know that we are struggling in this life because we are tested in this life. And fasting is helping us to control our desires, so that we will not be under the control of our desires. So either your desires control you, or you control your desires. If someone is controlled by his desires, it means he will be lost, because he will follow his desires, he will commit sins, he will do all the things just because he likes it. And this is not the way of guidance. But if you make these desires, which are put in you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that you are tested, and you are controlling these desires, then you will be able to do whatever is lawful and you avoid whatever is unlawful. Even if that thing which you love or like to do, you love it, but you know it is unlawful, so you stop from that. So here, since you are fasting from things which are originally lawful, but during this time of fasting it becomes unlawful, this also helps you to abstain from all the unlawful actions. Yes, why? The Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, there are people who fast, but they only get thirsty and hunger. And some people, they pray at night, but they just get tiredness. Why? Because he didn't observe the character of the real one who is fasting. The believer, when he is fasting, it means that he will abstain from all sins, the sins which comes from watching unlawful things, the sins from his tongue, the sayings, also listening for things which are unlawful and doing unlawful things. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, the one who does not abstain from saying the bad things and doing the bad things, this he will not benefit from his fasting. And Allah does not care about his fasting, because he spoiled the wisdom behind fasting. We said fasting, it means that you become more God-fearing. It means you become away from the sins, and you are encouraged to do the good deeds to worship Allah more and more, to be good to others. And this is also one of the wisdoms behind fasting, is when you feel the hunger and the thirst, you will be reminded by the millions of people who are deprived from the food and the drink and all the things you have in your life. So you sympathize with them, and you give them food, you pay for them, and do whatever so that they will live something close to you, because we are all brothers. We are all brothers, and we must feel the feelings of the others. So this is another thing. Also, the fasting make you thankful to Allah, because you have this food, you have this drink, and you will be happy when you break your fasting. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, the one who is fasting has 2 times of happiness. The first time when he breaks his fasting. So this natural happiness, because for hours you are not eating, now you are eating, you become happy. And another thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, helped you to fast one day for His sake. And fasting one day for the sake of Allah, the Prophet, peace be upon him, say it will make the hellfire away from you like for 70 years. So it is something you become happy that you were able to fast this day. And he said the other happiness occasion of being happy is in the day of judgment, when you meet Allah with your deeds from fasting. So being fasting, also you will know how important is food and drink and all the other things. So these are some of the wisdom behind fasting. And we have mentioned being patient. Being patient has 3 categories. The first is being patient by following the commands of Allah and His Messenger. It needs, for example, waking up for the morning prayer. This needs encouragement, needs commitment, needs patience. The second thing, which we have mentioned already, is that to abstain from the unlawful things and from the sins. So it needs also patience. The third type or category of patience is whatever happens to you which you don't like in this life. For example, some calamities, some accidents, diseases, losing someone beloved to you, and so on. All these, we know that it happened by the will of Allah, and this is a test for us. So these are all types of patience. And the believer, when he is fasting, also will get benefits from that. Another thing about fasting, since you don't eat and drink, even the shaitan who's trying to mislead you and trying to take you away from the way of guidance, he becomes weaker and less able to deviate you from this the straight path which you are struggling to follow in this life. So they said, as in the hadith, that the shaitan, it goes through you as the blood in your body. So if you don't eat and you don't drink, it makes it like giving it a hard time for him, because he is not nourished for that. So anyway, being able to stop from eating and drinking, and also being good in your character, this is also fruit of the fasting, and also being of a good character, like when you go and someone speaks something bad to you, you become patient and you don't just respond to him and you say inni sa'im, I am fasting. So I'd like to stop here, and I ask Allah to benefit us from what we have heard, and to teach us what is beneficial to us all. And آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.